Never run out of ideas, and save your mental health in the process. Hey friends, my mother always told me don't talk back. She meant it specifically pertaining to her, but I learned a valuable lesson then as a young person. I learned to turn to my journals. I'd write all the things I would have said to my mom, my defenses, my thorough explanations of my beliefs, the things mom would not listen to, the things that mom didn't want to hear. And those journals would become some of my first real writing work. Some of it was poetry, some of it was plays, and some of it would form the emotional backbone of my novels. Later, when I started to write essays, after taking a creative nonfiction course at a local community college, the link became even more clear. I found I could easily articulate my frustrations about the world in this format. In the days when the early internet formed, I would argue a lot with people. I spent a lot of time warring with folks in the comment sections, only to walk away drained, exhausted, not having accomplished much, as most people became further entrenched in bad faith positions, even when they were presented with logical counterpoints and copious proof. And at the same time, I started blogging daily online. I was doing this while I was editing a book and building my online presence. And as a daily blogger, I needed things to write about. It's not that hard to write an essay, at least for me, at least for most capable writers, but writing 365 essays in a row, one every day, that's a lot to ask of somebody, especially if you're not used to it. So I had this need for content. And one day, as I was both simultaneously struggling to find something to write about, and I was being lured back into some weird online fight that I knew wasn't going to go well, a light bulb went off. I realized suddenly that a better use of my time and a better use of my energy was taking what I would have said to the stranger in the comment section and fleshing it out into a fully formed essay. And I'll tell you what, not only did I not waste my time in the comment section, not only did I have something to post that day, but those essays also ended up having far more impact persuasively on other people and the world than my attempts at arguing with random strangers in comment sections ever did. And suddenly I had no shortage of ideas for my daily blog. Everything shifted. It was seismic. My essays also started to do better on the blog because I was arguing about things that people were actually talking about. And interestingly, I was giving them fodder for when they had these same arguments with people in comment sections. People would link to my work or take screenshots and use it as their own arguments. So I was not only arguing better to an audience, I was giving people the tools they needed to argue with bad faith commenters, which was a very interesting side effect and not something that I had anticipated. And it occurred to me as I continued to write on my blog rather than arguing with people in comment sections, how powerful this behavior was. Instead of talking back or arguing back, I was arguing forward. I was passing on the argument to people further down the line. So why do I call it arguing forward? It's similar to the concept of paying it forward. So if you're not familiar with paying it forward, when someone does us a kindness in life, there's this idea that we need to pay it back, to be even, to be equal, to be fair. Now the issue comes with the fact that people give things freely that they don't necessarily need back. Somebody might offer you support because they're stable and they're established and they don't need that support. So if somebody helps you out, it's not necessarily like it will be helpful to do exactly the same thing for them because they don't need that thing. Now, there are a few ways to deal with this. You can pay them back in a different way, which is always nice, or you can do something else, or in addition to that, you can pay it forward. And when you pay it forward, what you do is the next time in your life you see somebody that needs that kind of support, you do it for that person. You pass it on along the chain. You do kindness for somebody else rather than for the person that helped you out because you're helping someone in need. Because it's less important to pay back the person who did you the kindness. I mean, aside from being grateful and being equitable and nurturing whatever friendship or social relationship you have, it's more impactful upon the world to extend that kindness to somebody who needs it. Anyway, ever since I started arguing forward instead of arguing back, my whole perspective has changed. I actually did a video recently on how to deal with mean comments and hate mail that talks a lot about different tools you can use on YouTube and strategies to dealing with people that are mean or argumentative or appear to be in bad faith when they approach your channel. And you should check that out after this one for more information on that. But I think it's a powerful enough principle on its own that I wanted to make sure that I was clear about how important it is. Because I think that avoiding getting into these little squabbles in comment sections, even if it's on your own platform, right? It can be really helpful in preserving your energy and your time and all that good stuff. That's an important argument on its own. But I also think that people overlook the potential for creative inspiration. Yes, theoretically, you could sit there and you could argue with somebody in the comment section and then take your argument and make a piece of content later after you're done arguing back. You can argue back and then argue forward. And kudos to anybody who can manage it, but I've never really found that to be an easy thing to do. For me, if I go and I argue with somebody, I will get all that ranting energy out. I will waste so much time and energy. It will take me so much longer that I will just be sick of the whole thing, and then I won't want to make content about it. For me, that spark, that I want to argue, if I actually argue with them, I lose it. I lose that hunger. So for me, it's much easier to go open up an outline, start explaining why this person is wrong, what they're missing, what's happening, taking that instead of arguing with them back, writing something that's well supported, has all the answers, that stands on its own as its own argument. I find that to be such a more valuable use of my time. I create better work. I create it faster when I do that. And frankly, it keeps me constructive. It keeps me as somebody who is building rather than focusing on counterattacking somebody that's attacked me and defending myself. I build something new. I built something beautiful. I built something valuable. It has been the best use of my time. It really has been. Now, it takes a lot of practice to get used to letting people be wrong about you. So that's the other thing. It's so powerful to let people just be wrong about you, to let it sit there, to not dignify it with a response, to move on and to argue forward. But I'll tell you, it is the most sanity-inducing thing to really not care about what every single person thinks of you, especially people who aren't familiar, people who are acting out in bad faith. Like, who cares? Who cares? As long as the people who are really familiar with your work, who are acting in good faith, most people get where you're coming from. As long as you have that group of people, I don't care about the 1 to 5% that's gonna be like those old guys on the Muppets, no, I don't care. Because the reality is that it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're gonna have critics. Not everyone's gonna like your work. And especially if somebody's calling you a hack or saying that you can't make things, what's the best argument? In the comments being like, of course I can make stuff. No, that's not the best argument. The best argument is with actions, and that's making something new, making something substantive. That's how to never run out of ideas and how to save your mental health in the process. I know everybody has a different way of dealing with it, but this has been a wonderful game changer to me. I highly recommend it. It's a win-win-win-win-win, and it's why I'm never going back to arguing back and why I prefer greatly to argue forward. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.